It's a simple fact that beards nowadays are more popular than they've really ever been. And if you clicked on this video, then chances are you're interested in growing a beard, or at least want to grow a beard sometime in the future. And maybe you're curious about whether growing a beard is really something that you're capable of. After all, not every man out there can grow a beard, or at least can't grow a beard that they're satisfied with. So today we're going to talk about 5 different signs that show and that can prove to you that you can grow a beard and that maybe you should try. So there are a variety of reasons why people want to grow beards nowadays. They're stylish, they're for the most part practical, and they really kind of give you that awesome, cool, chiseled jawline look, especially if you do it right. And so these 5 clues that I'm going to share with you today are going to be a mixture of things that you can control and things that you can't control, as well as things you can look into to determine what your chances are of growing a beard that you are probably going to enjoy. So let's start with the first one, which is age. Now, we're just not talking about how old you are right now, although that does play a factor in your ability to grow a beard, but we're also going to give you some milestones for age that will clue you in as to what your beard growth could be like if you wanted to grow a beard right now. The first question you have to ask yourself in regards to age is, when did you start growing facial hair, just any facial hair to begin with? Because if it came in heavy, strong growth between the ages of 14 and 18, chances are you're going to be able to grow a thicker beard well into your 20s and 30s. Now there's a huge span here, and it doesn't always behave the same for everyone, but typically if your beard growth only starts in your later 20s, then you don't have all that much more time for the beard growth to mature, as opposed to someone whose growth started off strong just earlier in their life. And this just may clue you in on your overall ability to grow a beard in the first place, based on how the beard started growing and when it started growing before your beard will reach its maturity, which is typically between the age of 30 and 35. To go alongside this, have you noticed your beard growth improve with age? Either improve in terms of thickness and density, or improve in terms of how long it grows out over a certain period of time. If you have, then chances are your beard growth will continue improving until you reach that plateau I mentioned earlier. And the last question is, how old are you right now? Keep in mind, age isn't really everything when it comes to beard growth. Some men have beards until the day they die. Some men lose their beards a week after their 35th birthday. It's no telling. But depending on how old you are right now, you may or may not have a reasonable sense of whether you've already hit that kind of mature beard growth milestone where you may not expect it to really grow in any better in the foreseeable future. So the second point we're going to give you guys today that will clue you in on whether you can grow a beard is actually one that you may not have thought of, and that is how high your cheek line goes. We're not talking about how dense your cheek line is, we're talking about how high the cheek line is relative to your cheeks. Men who grow hair higher up on their cheeks tend to be able to grow thicker, fuller beards. And this isn't exactly because the beard hair grows in denser. Instead, it's more about the perceived density of the beard, since hair that grows higher on your cheek line for at least mid-length beards and longer can grow over any patchy or thin areas and cause the beard to appear denser than it really is. Whereas if you don't really have well-defined high cheek lines, it's going to be harder for you because there's no hair up top that can cover those patchy or thin areas that may occur below. So if you do have a relatively defined cheek line up higher on your cheeks, then you have a better overall chance of growing a beard that looks full, even when it may not really be, if you should decide to grow that beard. Now the third one is going to be pretty obvious, but it's going to be one that is probably going to clue you in the most in terms of your beard growing potential, which is, do your ancestors have beards? To be fair, most ancestors out there have beards if you go back far enough. But typically, if you look at not only your father, but your grandfather, your great-grandfather, back a few generations, you should be able to tell whether or not any of them were sporting any kind of facial hair and what that facial hair typically looks like. Because if they aren't, then there could be a chance that either they all just preferred being clean shaven, or they couldn't grow the facial hair they wanted, so they had no choice. This goes alongside your ethnicity as well. If you dive into that a little bit, you should reasonably be able to determine whether or not you can grow a beard, but also exactly what type of beard you're probably going to grow. For example, me personally, I have a lot of English and Irish and Swedish in my blood. So if I go back and kind of consider what beards they have, Swedish people typically have blonder to, darker brown beards. Irish people typically have redder beards, which actually clues me in a lot and gives me the reasoning why I have a mixture of blonde, brown, and red hair all over my beard. It's these kind of clues that will give you not only the idea of whether you can grow a beard, but what type of beard you will grow when you do it. Number 4 is going to be an actually measurable kind of consistent data that you can take for your beard growth potential, which is the average growth rate of your beard. And if your beard growth rate is at least on average, then chances are you're going to have a higher probability and chance of growing a beard that you're going to enjoy. And just so you know, the typical growth rate is about 0.5 inches a month for your facial hair. Now, certain areas may grow slower or more quickly depending on where those areas are. Typically your chin and like around your goatee area grows a bit faster. But if you measure out your beard growth for a month without trimming or anything like that, you'll have a way better idea if you're kind of on the average track for being able to grow a beard without getting discouraged and shaving it off prematurely. Okay, now the 5th clue that I can give you today about whether or not you have a good chance of growing a beard if you decide to grow one is probably not one you expect. And that is, are you exercising and eating well? Because believe it or not, exercise has actually been linked to beard growth because exercise naturally increases testosterone for a short amount of time afterwards. And of course, if you exercise consistently, that is more of your overall time with increased testosterone than you would otherwise have, which also can kind of further your beard growth. Eating well goes alongside this. If you're providing yourself with all the proper nutrients you need, and if you are exercising and increasing the amount of blood flow you have throughout your body, then chances are your blood is going to be a lot more efficient at carrying the proper nutrients, especially around your beard area, which will go hand in hand with that increased testosterone for exercising and increase your beard growth and beard growth quality. This is the entire reason people use those derma rollers, because slightly puncturing the skin and irritating the skin causes a rush of blood cells to come and repair it. So that blood brings the nutrients alongside it, which can also help further beard growth. That's the whole reason behind that. So of course you can imagine if you exercise and increase your blood flow that way, the same effect can occur. So I want you guys to do an audit of yourselves and really dive into each of these 5 points that I mentioned and really kind of score yourself on your potential for growing a beard based on all of these points. So hopefully you guys learned something about these 5 tips that will show you and prove to you whether you can grow a beard or not. Hopefully you guys are able to explore a little bit further in them and determine for yourself if a beard is right for you. If you guys liked this video or have any more questions about beards and whatnot, please hit the like button and subscribe, and leave those questions for us in the comment section below. We would love to get back to you guys on that or make future videos about the things you guys are curious about. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.